Serious. When did the class clown go way too far? Story 1. He would try to jump around, Parker style, desk to desk, all class long. Sometimes would fall, comically, breaking things and falling in people, trying to get a laugh. Constantly redirected for trying to do run flips on the wall, telling horrible jokes, or balance large objects on himself. He always wanted attention. We just wanted to learn beginning French. We all, including the teacher, took to ignoring him. One day he couldn't handle people not paying attention to him, so he tried to see if he, for the first time ever, could do a backflip. Landed on his neck. Was out of class for a long while. Story 2. He put a hit of acid into our woodshop teacher's coffee. Fortunately, our woodshop teacher recognized the onset and immediately called into the office and said that he's leaving right now as he's feeling very unwell but will remain in class until a replacement arrives. We had a teacher fill in about 15 minutes and our woodshop teacher left. At lunch, we saw that his car was still parked in the parking lot. This was well before cell phones, so there's no way he called someone. Come to find out, he ran to a local park and waited out the storm as he realized that he was dosed with acid and that he was a teen in the 70s, so he knew. The next day, he taught class as normal and didn't mention it. Story 3. This was like early mid-90s. This girl in 4th or 5th grade just kept pushing the teacher until she finally just told the girl something. Like, fine, you want to run the class, then it's the show, go ahead. So the girl went up in front of the classroom and sang and danced and yelled for 15 minutes to get everyone's attention. The teacher just went to the back of the room and wrote her up. Story 4. He got kept back in class over break as a punishment for being too annoying or something along the lines of that. The teacher then needed to leave the class to go and photocopy something, and he got up and started messing around at her desk. When he saw her coming back into the room, he thought it would be funny to bolt over to the door and slam it as hard as he could on her hand. She broke 2 fingers and had a bad panic attack. He got suspended for 2 days and the school tried to press charges on him. Story 5. The time that this happened was when this kid, we'll call him Billy, came back from the bathroom. We were told that we were getting a new student who had a little bit of autism. When Billy got word of that, he sat up and said, "Hey, teacher, we're getting an autistic kid, right?" The teacher nodded. Then Billy squatted and flailed his arms while wildly screeching. The whole class, including the teacher, was mortified. I'm just glad he got in trouble and couldn't go to recess. We were in 5th grade BTW. Story 6. He was pretty popular with the girls and at least a year older than everyone. We were on a school trip. For a week, he ended up making a voice recording of them doing it, sounds moaning, groaning, rattling the closet door, and put it through a very loud Bluetooth speaker in front of random people's rooms. Too bad for him. A bunch of teachers were staying in that corridor as well. So, that didn't go well for him. Edit, we were all like 13 years old, he was 15. He did some even weirder crap later down the line. But that's not too class clowny. Story 7. A friend of mine, a true class clown, had heard that if you poured rubbing alcohol on yourself and lit it, you would not burn, only the alcohol would. So, at a party, he poured alcohol all himself, lit it, and started walking around like the mummy. It began to burn. He began to panic. Unfortunately, adults were there and they put it and took him home to his mom, a nurse. He was covered with 1st and 2nd degree burns. Story 8. I was the class clown of this story. We had just had the school fair and my maths teacher, who was genuinely one of the nicest and kindest teachers I've ever had, was counting the money that his homeroom class had earned for charity. I started cracking jokes about buying coke and hookers and blah blah blah, and then I said, maybe you're gonna buy yourself a wife. Absolute dead silence from the entire class that had been laughing up until that point. I had no idea that the news broke that day that his wife, another teacher at the school, had just left him for another female teacher at the school. I wanted to crawl into a hole and die when my friend sitting next to me whispered the news to me as the teacher just stared at me. Hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to help out the channel. But first, a word from our sponsor, Light Gallery. It's a game changer when it comes to illuminating your living space. If you're looking to add a touch of creativity to your home, this is the perfect solution. They offer a varied collection of high-quality illuminating objects. The last couple of days I had the chance to try out their realistic moon lamp. I have to say that my room caught a new feeling. And not only this, but this lamp is shown to improve focus, which was really important for creating awesome stories for you. Light Gallery offered 15% off if you use the code CARL7. But hurry, it's only for the next 72 hours. Thank you so much, Light Gallery, for sponsoring this video. And let's get back to the stories. Story 9. This wasn't at the school I went to. The students from my school had a city-wide reputation for being a bunch of theater kids, teachers' pets, and snobs, but a school one town over where I did a placement when I was 15. During those 3 weeks, some jokesters who were, apparently, the class clowns of their grade, decided to pour chocolate milk into the school's fish tank, which wasn't very big. This was on a Friday afternoon, but the teachers only found out about it Monday noon. By then, all the fish had died already. I can't tell you how the students in question were punished. That was handled privately, but it was decided that for the foreseeable future, there would be no more fish. Story 10. It was like teacher review day. I can't remember the official name. And he poured a flammable solvent on a workbench during chem class and set it on fire. The teacher freaked, put it out with a fire extinguisher. Everyone ended up in the powder stuff that came out of it, and the teacher told us not to tell anyone. He didn't get reviewed when we were there, but apparently he would be next period. Needless to say, the class clown got suspended. Story 11. I had a study hall where 75% of my class was the class clown. We were watched by the librarian, who was known to have a short temper, Mrs. Shostak. It was essentially their goal to give her an aneurysm for entertainment each class. They would always do something to piss her off, and before you knew it, half of the class was in the office. One day they started playing the Shostak game. Think the junk game, but screaming Shostak louder and louder instead of junk. By the end of it, kids were screaming Shostak at the top of their lungs while she was shrieking, "Shut up, shut up, shut up," and threw herself on the ground crying. She was so pissed. Poor Shostak. Story 12. I was the class clown. I got a crap ton of Tootsie's rolls for Christmas, so I set them by a heater to make them malleable and crafted the perfect sweatiest looking turd. I placed it by the student store divided by bathroom where everyone gathered for lunch. The Russian old lady janitor saw it, freaked out, and started screaming and took off to get the principal. In the meantime, unbeknownst to the janitor, I retrieved the turd and put it in a sandwich baggie and waited around the corner. She came back with the principal and vice principal swearing up and down that there was in fact a turd there moments prior. I'm laughing my butt off down the hallway, and she starts grabbing at least 3 students by the collar, asking if they moved the piece of crap. Mind you, in the thickest Russian accent, she kept telling the principals it was right there and pointing to where it was. The principals just said, "Why would someone pick up a pile of crap?" I never got in trouble for it. Story 13. So we had this one teacher's aide that was pretty fat. Most of it was in her butt. She had probably the biggest butt I've ever seen. Not really in an attractive way, but just honestly a huge butt. One day she bends over close to the class clown, big butt sticking up in the air. This guy proceeds to smack her, but hard as he can. We were in 7th grade. The class was shook. It was so loud, and the look on her face after. Everyone was too scared to even laugh, but looking back it was hilarious. She screamed at him and was beat red in the face. He gets suspended and a strong talking to about how it's sexual harassment. The balls he had to do that still impress me today. Story 14. Brought firecrackers to class. Teacher caught me right off the bat. She kept all confiscated items in a tall glass jar. Cool part was that at the end of the year she gave them back. This was in 5th grade. 7th grade, I ate a bunch of tamarind candy and would sometimes joke around to blurt stuff out. One of those times I started choking on the candy. I started coughing uncontrollably and I panicked. I jumped up and ran to the restroom, puked in a urinal, and I thought all was fine, till I see a trail of puke running from my desk all the way to the restroom. Shirt covered in puke, etc. Kinda crappy tbh. I really think I had a good amount of ADHD. Not sure if I just learned to live with it or what. Story 15. In high school, the little crap punched a special needs kid. I'm not sure why, but before I could even blink, me and another stranger had him on the ground, proceeded to kick the living crap out of him, before the cop and a few teachers pulled us off of him. After 3 weeks of suspension, apparently the story was that the clown was the victim and that me and the stranger who I ended up becoming very good friends with were just bullying him. Not a single word of what he did to the special needs kid. Because the clown was really popular, we ended up becoming social outcasts to the point that I ended up leaving public for homeschooling. Had trust issues ever since.